for King James only. That sees there's something flawed in KJV onlyism. And I guess since I'm Antiochian, he likes us better. Sorry, Coptics. So what about the KJV? What about the manuscripts? What about Alexandrian versus Byzantine? Say why those two? There's not two lines of manuscripts. There's an Aramaic line of manuscripts. People are calling him Yeshua Mashiach. Why? I mean, there's an Aramaic line. There's a few different Greek families. It's like DNA. Manuscripts are like DNA. Manuscript traditions are like DNA with the New Testament. There's thousands of copies of early manuscripts, right? So how can you tell what's what? Because if there's a variant, an error, supposedly a variant, somebody misspells something, or somebody, it is easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven, right? In Aramaic it says rope. How's it possible? In Greek, let me just tell you what. There's a letter, looks like an O. There's a letter, looks like an O. There's a line through it, I think omnicron and theta. I'll have to give this to Gambler and see if it's right. He knows Greek. But what is papyrus? Right. It's got lines all through it. So somebody copied that down when they're copying. And a line through just that one letter. Now, does it change the meaning of the term? No, they're both things that are too big to go through the eye of a needle. But it would be, nobody would say that in that culture in Aramaic. It's either a camel to go through an eye of a needle. Nobody tries to put a camel because it's easier for a rope to go through. Oh, ropes don't go through the eyes of needles. Only string does, or yarn, right? It's a big needle, you know. Biggest needle would put yarn through it. Ropes don't go through it. And so Protestants had to make up things for this. They said, oh, there was this curved thing that's like you'd tie a horse to, and a camel would have to get on its knees to go through. They didn't really use camels in first century Palestine. Oops. So it's good that these things are there, because no other piece of writing has this. No other piece of writing has from so early and so close to the time it's supposed to be written, right? They just go. Kent Hovind, I can go through. If there's a Kent Hovind video that you think is really, hey, that's cool. He can be picked apart. So can Sam Gipp. Sam Gipp can just be shredded. Sam Gipp and Kent Hovind can be destroyed. Easy. The thing, there's not 1,000 Bibles. There's not, one Bible. There's not 3 Bibles. There's 2. What about the Ethiopic tradition? What about the Slavonic tradition? Comes through Byzantium. What about this whole thing? Just the bait. Not to mention it's looking at it the wrong way. The church existed, and there's nothing in the New Testament to tell you the following Testament or what books are in the New Testament. And you had the church. That's all you had. Not to mention most codices had First Clement in them. Shepherd Hermas. So what's up with that? What's up with Antioch and Alexandria. Paulus Samosata, I finally said it right this time. Arius, Nestorius from Antioch. Antioch was the one that downplayed Christ's deity. Or it emphasized his humanity at the expense of his deity. I don't think this is an intent, you know. They saw it in this way, right? It's Arab and, you know, it's Syrian, and they got their own view of it, right? Egypt's got all that Greek stuff, especially Alexandria. So they emphasized his deity at the expense of his humanity. There are people there are saying he didn't even have a physical body. He was like Marcion. Like Marcion was. Marcion comes from Pontus, the Black Sea portion of Anatolia. It's a son of a shipmaker, and look at the New Testament, look at the Old Testament, not the same God. And said no, there's and this wasn't really uncommon. You had Gnostics, and you know, especially the Nag Hammadi was found in Egypt, where, you know, no physical body, and the Gnostics would rearrange this as more people were like, that's not Christianity. Oh no, but there's this, and then it was, you know, and both did this. Both wound up doing this because they could kind of make it work, but they would never agree with each other. Oh, that's at his baptism. That's when it was. Then he became the Christ. He wasn't born Christ. And the funny thing is, the people with the adoptionists won't say Mark and John are the first ones. They'll say Luke is the first one, but it just happened to have the virgin birth story just tacked on. That doesn't make sense. But if you look at the first 300 years, look at Alexandria and look at Antioch. Yeah, first 500 years. You see, it's the exact opposite of the KJV onlyists. Exact opposite. And I'd like Antioch to get credit of, like, yeah, you're going to the right, you're saying the right thing about us. That there was, the church existed there and didn't have these screwy ideas, right? But the heretics that came from there, that was the leading, that's where they lent to. Maybe the actual church, that's what they emphasized, humanity. Look, Logos, party of he was human, he was human, get this, you know. And then God came down, you know. This human he lived a perfect life. Then God came down. And both of them had the other stuff. It's just what they chose to emphasize on. Oh, our guys are saying this. That's cool. And then you've got the people who are either Judaizers or Docetists, which both get fought over in the New Testament. You have John going after the Docetists, right? Epistles of John, those who say Christ did not come in the flesh, because they were saying he just appeared. It was just an apparition. It's like you could walk through the sand and not leave footprints. And Paul's talking about people who are making people become Jews before they're Christian. You have to be circumcised and all Jewish stuff first. So you see, like the Ebionites and Docetists. Well, Ebionite is a faction. Docetists is like a family. So Ebionites and like Valentinians, right? Really early on, those heresies coming up. So you have this stuff, But is it? What about the manuscripts? The differences in them. Look at them. I mean, would you? The New King James Version, right? It's translated from the same stuff, the same Textus Receptus that the KJV is. It's just with modern language, just with language we can understand. Instead of shoe, it says sandal. You know, instead of bonnet, it says turban. What's a turban? Who in 1611 England is going to know that? Right? 1611, 15. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I think it's 1611. Yeah. Yeah. They're not going to know what a turban is. Who wears sandals in England at that time? Nobody. Footwear. Oh, we call footwear shoes, right? Got this big thing wrapped around their head. What is that? Hat. And did they have the word hat back then? Wild goat and wild ox were mythical creatures. They were mythical. And the translators knew this is a mythical creature. So, what they translate? Oh, unicorn and satyrs, right? Satyrs or satyrs or whatever. Not like the satyr. That's how they translate them. Everybody knows unicorns and these dudes with goat legs walking around are mythical. That's just from mythology. Everybody knows that. Now you get King James only as saying no, there really were unicorns and there really were these these guys with goat legs and stuff like Pan who had horns growing out of there and played a flute. No, they were talking about this stuff. The horns of the unicorn. Oh, well, that's like deer. No, unicorns is the plural. They did that intentionally so people would, modern KJV only has missed this. What was the first critical? The first critical edition, the Textus Receptus. It was the first critical. They matched as many manuscripts as they could together. So Erasmus, Beza, Stephanus. You had Catholics, Roman Catholics in there. All people. The excuse is they weren't very good Roman Catholics though. And they're Calvinists, and all this stuff, you know. In this tradition, in this, you know, this pure, you know, it's from God. Really? Are you an Anglican from 1611? Are you a high church Anglican with the liturgy and you do the Eucharist every Sunday? Or are you one of those Calvinists on the board that's deciding this? It's the Spirit of God moving. Where is that in the New Testament? Who ever claimed that? The translators of King James, they had a foreword and they said, nope. You get better manuscripts, retranslate this. And it was the one forced on him by a king. If you want to talk about Caesaropapism, Henry VIII. I'm King of England and I'm the head of the church. To this day, the Queen of England's head of the church. No joke. I'll keep going with this.